Farm Progress Broadcast presents This Week in Agribusiness, serving America's most essential industry. Brought to you by Case IH. Solutions for every challenge. Equipment for every farm. Case IH, built by farmers.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us here for This Week in Agribusiness. I'm Mike Pearson. With harvest approaching, it might be time to think about what would happen on your farm if the unimaginable occurred. What if there were an illness or a farm operator passed away? Well, we were at the Farm Progress Show. I had the chance to talk with Tim Sullivan, the Executive Director of Farm Rescue, an organization that can help those farmers in times of need.
We are a group of volunteers that come in and help a family in crisis. That crisis can look very different. It can be an injury, it can be an illness in the family, it can be a natural disaster. Anything that comes into play with their livelihood on the farm, we're involved. And we're dedicated to helping that family through that crisis by either planting or harvesting a crop, feeding the livestock, hauling commodities to market, whatever it takes to get them over that initial crisis.
Now, how does Farm Rescue find families who are going through a crisis in the world of agriculture?
So everybody can apply through our website, farmrescue.org, but a lot of folks have a hard time saying yes to what we do. You know, maybe they don't know who we are, maybe it's just a trust issue, but through our partnerships that we have in the industry, that's the best way, because those are frontline people that know about us, but they know their customers as well. And so when they refer a customer, that means something. Immediate trust is built at that point.
All right, and so then those families who are going through it, they reach out to Farm Rescue. You guys work with them to keep that farm moving, to keep it going in the direction that those farm operators need. What helps support Farm Rescue to get that done?
Yeah,
who?
So I talk about partnerships. And of course, Farm Progress is a big partner of Farm Rescue. And so it's all about getting the word out in many ways, but we also can't do anything without funding. So the industry wraps their arms around us in many cases, where they're helping us through different levels of financial support and in kind as well. And then we can actually budget and make sure we're ready to take on whatever comes our way.
Farm Rescue now covers 10 different states across really the center of the country. And are you also looking for helpers, volunteers to run that equipment in a crisis?
So that's a big part of why we're here today. Meeting new people, understanding what we do and why we do it, but getting those qualified operators is key. So, when we're in 10 states, we're running 10 different operations at one time in harvest time. So it takes, 4-man crew usually. We have, veterans on every case, but we have people that we want to introduce new into the program so that maybe in 3-4 years, they're a veteran and they can have their own case following. So it's a huge deal. In a given year, we'll go through a couple hundred to 250 volunteers.
Wow. So if we've got folks who want to learn more, either to be a volunteer or to support Farm Rescue, or to maybe nominate a friend or family member who's in need, where would you send them for more information?
So farmrescue.org, O-R-G, is the best way to learn about Farm Rescue, what we're up to currently and where we're headed. We have our state maps in there. Our total amount of crisis cases to date is 1,220 cases. Over 20 years. This is our 20th year. We started in 2005. And so we're excited about the next 20 years.
And that website, once again, is farmrescue.org. If you've got a neighbor or friend in crisis this harvest season, log on there and you can nominate them to Farm Rescue. Our markets this week are brought to you by Farm Futures. Keep up with these volatile commodity markets at farmfutures.com. Joining me this week is Craig Turner. He's a senior broker with StoneX. Craig, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Happy to be on.
Well, let's talk about what you're hearing from your farmer customers around the country. When it comes to corn, are we going to see this 188 bushel yield?
Yeah, so, the 188 bushels, it makes sense, back in end of July, when the WASDE and they were doing the observations there. Since then, less rain, more challenging weather. We're hearing a little bit less on the yield. I mean, it's going to be a big crop. Okay. We're going to be in the 180s on that yield, I think. I don't think we see a 188. I mean, some farmers, depending where they're going, including in Illinois and Iowa, maybe about 10, 15, 20 bushels less than they thought. Now, big yields, but maybe not just as big as they thought. So I wouldn't be shocked if we're 184 or 185. We'll see.
How should producers be hedging their bets here as we get into harvest season? Is there time right now to be making some moves?
Well, I think it's hard. Usually this time of year we make seasonal lows, right? This is anywhere between the end of August to the end of September. So if they do have to, sometimes you have to sell this time of year. We do encourage doing something on paper just for a buyback. Sometimes we'll even do, because we get low times a year, we'll do courage calls where you can look into for the new crop. Because listen, if we're going to be in the low 4s for December, week, and let's say July and Dece are around 450, 460, having a 20, 30, 40 cent move during a more bullish time can definitely happen. So either you're buying back on paper, or if you want to take a look at new crop, buying a 480 or 490 or $5 call either in July or December. It's actually kind of reasonable right now with the low prices and the lower volatility, something you can sell into. So there's a lot of different ways you can go about that.
That's a really good point. Now, as you look out into the future, so much of this managing a large crop sales is going to depend on demand. Globally, exports have been strong. Craig, do you anticipate that being the case through the fourth quarter?
Yeah. So, we are now in the United States export season. We're going to want to see exports continue to be strong. Corn is cheap, right? Depending on the week, we're sometimes the cheapest out there, not just in corn, but also for feed, with protein differentials. So yeah, we're expecting some big sales here. Should continue to see it. We really need to see it. On one hand, listen, I think we're probably hitting or forming seasonal lows, because if corn does get below $4 in the front month, it is extremely competitive, right, on the global export market. So hopefully we'll see that just base and go higher as we go on the year.
Thinking more about demand, ethanol, of course, we're coming off the big driving season heading into fall, but ethanol demand has been strong, hasn't it, for corn? Yeah,
it has been strong. And the USDA, even their last WASDE report, was saying just, they see, we have a lot of corn production, but they're seeing some strong demand for ethanol, strong demand for feed this year. Exports are going to be higher. And listen, if corn is at these prices, it is going to generate demand, right? Low prices cure low prices. We're seeing that, right? Even just with with old crop here. A lot of people didn't think we'd see all this demand for corn and soybeans in the old crop, and here we are. Looks like the USDA was right on that.
Low prices cure low prices. Wheat growers across the country are going, aren't we low enough yet? Craig, when's this wheat market going to turn around?
Okay, so here's the problem with wheat right now. We do not have a global supply issue. Actually, we're kind of well supplied globally. When I look at some of the export prices, we're talking 205, 210, 215 a ton. It's the equivalent of low 5s for Chicago wheat in the front month. So we're priced okay. But what we need to see is either lower acres in the U.S., right? And not a ton. Like if we're at 46 total wheat acres, we go to 45 or 44. All of a sudden, you can start taking a little bit off of supply. But the problem with wheat here is we are just not competitively priced.
Okay, so it's going to struggle, at least for the foreseeable future.
And when we rally in wheat, it's usually geopolitical, or it's years of acres coming down, and eventually there's a tipping point where you go from abundant to adequate to burdensome, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, we're not there yet.
Not yet.
All right, Craig Turner, we'll come back with more market discussion with Craig Turner from StoneX in just a bit. Our market segment this week is brought to you by Farm Futures. Keep up with these volatile commodity markets at farmfutures.com. This week, we're talking with Craig Turner, senior broker over at StoneX. And Craig, when we left, we were breaking down the wheat market. Not a whole lot of upside there for producers trying to manage out into the future. What's your advice?
Yeah, so it's hard right now with old crop. There's not a lot of good, solutions there at the moment. However, you do got to take what the market gives you. And if we're going to have abundant supplies and the carry is going to be built big into the market, we are going out to July or even December of 2026, and we are starting to make some sales. Recently, Kansas City and Chicago wheat in December 26 were at or over $6. Now, if the cash prices stay this low and we're well supplied for a while, the way the market will work is eventually those back-end futures come back, leak lower, 5 to 10 cents a month, to eventually meet the cash price. That's the carry market, right? Yep. The market structure. So 5, 10, 15% of your production selling it out for $6 in Dece 26. It's a start. That's put in a flag, right in the ground. Absolutely. There. have something to market around, something good.
Gives you a price target.
Gives you a price target, and because it's challenging right now if you have to sell old crop.
It is.
Yeah.
And we think about those wheat acres across the country. You mentioned bringing down acres over time might be a solution. This cattle market continues to be on fire. Is there going to be an intersection where that wheat acre turns to a pasture acre?
Yeah, so it's interesting because Economics 101, just going back to the classroom way back, it would suggest that eventually out west, wheat acres would either be used either for feed or maybe go to hay, right? And more cattle would be fed. And then on the flip side, cattle would have to find a price point to make that work. And it's interesting because it seems like almost decades now. It's been getting out of the cattle business into the row crops. Totally understand, why that happens. But eventually the market will find a tipping point for pricing to get cattle. I mean, we're seeing cattle here. People are throwing out numbers like, can feeders go to 400, 500? Can fats go to 300, right? The market will drive. And that's the job of the market, price discovery, to find demand, to fix demand, supply and demand, right?
Yeah.
Is there a price point? It's a very interesting story.
Right.
Is there a price point for cattle where out west you actually see more cattle, less wheat, right? Less row crops, more,
I saw a cattle and wheat producer down in Oklahoma, Jared McDaniel, commented that this cattle rally is really designed to keep producers in the market, not just bring cattle back in, because we're trying to find that bottom line.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cattle, $300, $240 right now on fats. What do you see in the near term?
Okay, so here, when you take a look at the cattle on feed report, listen, it has been years now it's been bullish. Just recently, it seems like it's starting to taper off a little bit, right? And maybe we're getting a little bit, you can start, if you're reading the tea leaves in those reports, maybe things start getting a little bit more neutral, for that market. The thing is, it's a 2-year life cycle. So you can still go higher here for the next 6 months to a year before we really start to see those inventories start to build. But that's the thing with the cattle market, like it's the life cycle is so long. So I do think we still go higher. But we're getting to, like I said, we're getting to a tipping point where you're starting to hear more guys want to get into the market where the P&L makes sense. And I mean, I get it. Like, it takes a lot of money to get into the cattle market right
Especially
now.
with interest rates where they're at and with the price of cattle where they are. Lots to think about here as this market goes forward. Craig Turner, thank you so much for joining us here this week.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Always happy to be on.
Agriculture meteorologist Greg Solier now brings us his farm weather forecast for the week ahead.
Our weather segment is brought to you by SprayTech, making your spray applications effective and convenient. Use it once, trust it always. Greg Solier is here with a look at the maps and the charts from around the country. And Greg, what do you see next week in the Pacific Northwest?
Snappy first real autumn weather system of the season that will bring some meaningful rainfall, actual rain in the gauge, not all the lightning and the thunder and the fires and all that. Mother Nature will do her thing in helping to contain that situation, but pretty benign and uneventful looking early in the week. One little wiggle moving through the Pacific Northwest, weak high pressure across the divide country and a system out here across the plains where temperatures are recovering and there's moisture for the plain states areas too. Hopefully you've made some good progress on the spring grain side of thing with harvest in mind, and those winter wheat fields will get rain as the week wears on too before planting revs on up. Anyway, middle and late portions of the week, nice sizable upper air trough moving inland, widespread showers, couple of thunderstorms as well. Not quite cold enough to get snow in the peaks, a little early for that, and the cold air is lacking, but eastward where the warmth and the heat come back into play across the Dakotas, showers and thunderstorms could be, even with the September calendar date, heavy and severe. Meanwhile, boy, the story across Old Mexico down towards Baja, northward into the desert Southwest, this is the remnant circulation from what was former Pacific Hurricane Lorena, but a big moisture maker. We deal with these things in the Atlantic side. They do them sometimes on the Pacific side, and this is the end result here. Moisture thrown back towards San Diego, Imperial, and San Joaquin valleys over the past few days as well. North of there, some heat building, and east of there, some scattered showers and thunderstorms into the Plain States areas. Here's the weak signature from Lorena here, and along with that system, trough moves in out of the Bay Area, Mike. Showers and thunderstorms on the increase across much of the west and southwest, much needed in those drought areas as the week wears on.
I know middle of the country saw cool down this past week. Greg, is that an indication of what's to come?
Absolutely not. Again, we talked about sometimes when you get those hurricanes that make their way, this is Aaron we're talking about, across the western Atlantic. They move northward up towards the North Sea. You kind of bring that jet stream on southward, and all the social media clickbait about the end of the growing season, frost and freeze and all that nonsense was just that. So we get at least a September cool off, and warmer days are ahead, getting underway west of the plains here, and a couple of showers expected across the western Dakotas. Cool, dry, high pressure, except for some lake-induced clouds and sprinkles downwind of the Great Lakes region. There may have been a frost patch or two, non-damaging in the northwestern parts of the Corn Belt. We've had it already this season into the uppermost areas of the Midwest. Cool, dry, high pressure across the eastern Corn Belt. Warm up and scattered showers and thunderstorms getting going late in the week over areas of the northern and central plains and far western Corn Belt. The remnant circulation from Lorena here, the showers and thunderstorms, the monsoon setup, and the tropical moisture. Cool, dry, delightful outdoor work weather. Yeah, a little dry around the edges too across the Delta, lower Mississippi Valley. Not much going on east of there. We get some lowering pressures. It may be a year where we get these homegrown systems that go into the Gulf of Mexico or the southwestern Atlantic and move inland. The tropical rains continue across the southwestern states with warm and thundery weather for the southern plains.
Any shot for moisture in the northeast as you look over this next week?
I think the main concern there across the eastern Corn Belt, instead of all the hubbub about the frost and freeze, expanding dryness and drought, but it may work to our benefit with harvest in mind. The roll in the combines, from what we hear from our radio pals down there in east central Illinois, a couple of sprinkles downwind of the Great Lakes areas, cool, dry, high pressure early in the week across much of the Corn Belt. Back west of the Missouri, a couple of sprinkles expected there. Warm up gets underway, still cool and dry across the mid-Atlantic region. Dryness and drought still across the northeast of New England, and some patchy frost there later in the week. One system lowering pressures over the western Gulf that's just going to enhance the showers and thunderstorms. There have been some goodly downpours across Florida. Delightful outdoor work weather across the Tennessee Valley, mid-Atlantic region as well. And again, scattered showers and thunderstorms, maybe picking up on maybe a little weak circulation here. Keep an eye on this one here as the week wears on, as thundery rains get going down through Florida. Heat and humidity expected to continue on across the southern plains. Otherwise, a delightful go of it for outdoor work across much of the Mid-South.
Closed captioning this week is brought to you by Farm Progress. Their team of experts reports on innovative solutions and essential information for your farm business. Visit farmprogress.com to stay updated. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Over the past 20 years, more American drivers have encountered more ethanol blends in their fuel, and they've been able to save money. Because of that, 49 states have greenlit the use of E15 in their fuel supply. But there's been one holdout. That might be changing. Joining me now is Jeff Cooper. He's the president and CEO of the Renewable Fuels Association. And Mr. Cooper, tell us what's happening in the state of California.
Well, Mike, we've got some very exciting news out of the state of California. The California Senate just approved a bill that would make E15 immediately legal and immediately available to that state upon the governor's signature. So the bill has cleared the state legislature. It is now on its way to Governor Newsom's desk for signature. We do expect him to sign that. And again, very exciting news for the industry. This is something RFA has been working on for 8 years, and it looks like we're finally close to crossing the goal line and getting that 50th state, allowing California, which is one of the largest fuel-consuming states in the country, to enjoy the same E15 benefits that all of those other states are enjoying today. So great news for the industry, great news for California consumers.
Absolutely. Let's talk a little bit about what this means for consumers on the ground in California, frequently one of the most expensive places for fuel in the nation. Jeff, can they save money once E15 is widely available?
Oh, they absolutely can, Mike, and we've seen evidence of this in other states that are offering E15 today. It's typically priced 10 to 30 cents per gallon cheaper than E10. You're right, California does have the highest gas prices in the country. That's really what got their enthusiasm going about getting E15 over the goal line this year. In fact, there was a recent study out of the University of California at Berkeley and the Naval Academy that showed California consumers could save 20 cents per gallon on average if E15 was available. That's $2.7 billion statewide in savings for California consumers. So that certainly got the attention of those legislators who were interested in pursuing this concept, and glad to see again that it has cleared the state house and is on the way to the governor.
Absolutely. Welcome to the fold, California. Now all 50 states will have access to E15, but Jeff, with few exceptions, all of these states are still going to see restrictions on selling E15 in the summer, correct?
That's exactly right. About 2/3 of the country still has a summertime barrier in place that does not allow the sale of E15 in the summer months unless we get some sort of emergency waiver or emergency action from EPA. We've been lucky in the last several years that EPA has come through with those emergency waivers at the last minute. But that's not a long-term solution. We can't have ad hoc emergency waivers. We need permanent certainty for the marketplace to offer E15. Fortunately, California's regulations are a bit unique in that they don't have that same summertime barrier. So once the governor signs this bill into law, California will have year-round access permanently to this fuel, which we think is a huge benefit and a huge advantage for California.
Absolutely. So California, they'll be going year-round. For the rest of us, we will be waiting on legislation. Is there any legislation pending that would give us E15 year-round?
There is pending legislation in both chambers, both in the House and Senate. We have a number of supporters and friends and champions who are looking for any opportunity to advance that legislation this fall. We do think there will be a couple of must-pass legislative vehicles that will be moving in the months ahead. And again, we're looking for any and every opportunity to attach that language, get permanent nationwide year-round E15 done through Congress, and put that issue behind us once and for all, and really remove the need for these emergency waivers and remove the need for states to try to do unique things on their own to address this problem. So we are hopeful, and our fingers are crossed that bill is finally going to get done sometime before Christmas.
It would be fantastic to have that level of certainty. Now, Jeff, another thing we've seen in recent years for ethanol is it is an export product. We are finding buyers for American ethanol around the world. Is that the case here in 2025 as well?
It certainly is. We are on pace for record exports this year. We expect to export more than 2 billion gallons of ethanol, so roughly 13% of what we're going to produce this year. We had record exports last year, 1.9 billion gallons. So we are, again, on pace to break that record, seeing very strong demand in the international marketplace. And so we are, of course, very much focused on maintaining and growing export markets and breaking down barriers where they exist to U.S. ethanol, and that's been a big focus for the RFA.
Breaking down barriers. I've heard a lot about this investigation on the country of Brazil, particularly with their ethanol policies. Fill us in, Jeff. What are they doing to limit American ethanol?
Yeah, Brazil has an 18% tariff on U.S. ethanol, and that has effectively closed that market to U.S. Ethanol producers. Brazil was once our largest export market. They were the world leader in imports of U.S. ethanol. That has changed very dramatically since they instituted this tariff. We are effectively sending no ethanol to Brazil today. And so that's why we are glad to see the USTR stepping in with this Section 301 investigation, and they are specifically focusing on ethanol, among other products. And we had the opportunity to testify just yesterday in support of that Section 301 investigation and really expose and talk about the impact of some of these barriers on U.S. ethanol producers.
Lots of things shifting on the global stage, both positively when it comes to ethanol exports, but negatively when we look at some of these countries and their reactions. Jeff Cooper, President and CEO of the Renewable Fuels Association, thank you so much for joining us this week and filling us in on the industry.
Well, thank you, Mike.
Folks, leave it here.
Farm Progress Broadcast presents This Week in Agribusiness, serving America's most essential industry. Brought to you by Pioneer, the one that started it all and the one to count on when every bushel counts. Plant the 100th season at pioneer.com/100.
Welcome back to This Week in Agribusiness. I'm Mike Pearson. The Farm Progress Show is a great place to see the latest in technology, but it's also a great place for those companies to celebrate milestones. I had the chance to talk with Craig Lee of Geringhoff about the milestone they're celebrating this year.
Well, this is our 145th anniversary of Geringhoff. We were founded in 1880 in Aalen, Germany, and we're still a family-owned company today in the 5th generation of ownership. And in the farm equipment industry, you just don't find that very often. So that's a heritage we're proud of.
Absolutely, and it's a heritage of growth and innovation, and I understand 2025, 2026, we're seeing more growth here in the U.S. Can you fill us in on the factory expansion?
Sure. So for about 15 years or so, we've had a manufacturing facility in St. Cloud, Minnesota. And here in the last year, we've expanded that about 30% and added on 40,000 foot of manufacturing space, and to try and serve the U.S. market a little bit better and just build things here in the States.
And how's that progress coming on the facility?
It's getting really close to being functional. The framework and everything, they're still working on putting some cranes in and things like that, but it's pretty close. So.
Getting close to seeing that finish line. That's always fun. And of course, we've had a lot of fun, Craig, over the past year talking about the XFR 50 Draper, which is just an incredible piece of technology. I know you've got it on display here in Illinois for the first time. Fill us in. What's it bring to the table?
We do. So, in 2016, we brought our TrueFlex razor to the table and entered the Draper market in general. We've offered that in a 35, a 40, and a 45-foot version, but we found, bigger combines, Class 9, 10, and even 11, they need that bigger head. So we've gone to a 50-foot Draper. We showed it last year in Boone, and this is the first year having it here at Decatur. But it's got more flex than anything in the industry. We've got a 3-section flexible frame as well as a flexible cutter bar. So we've got about 46 inches of travel on our wings, and we've got 6 inches of travel on the cutter bar. So we can really get into those crevices and terraces and go a lot of places the competition can't.
What have you heard from farmers who have moved from the TrueFlex to the XFR? Have they liked that additional flexibility and capability?
It's been really good, but actually our TrueFlex razor before it had as much flex as anybody in the industry, whereas we still maintain our 6 inches of cutter bar travel, but we only have 4 degrees up and 5 degrees down on the TFR, which we have 7 degrees now on the XFR. So a little bit more, but some of that comes with the extra width, but we were already very flexible.
What's been the response so far? Are farmers taking a look at that XFR?
It's been good. I mean, the wow factor's good. We've also got our integrated air system on this unit here at the show. And what that is it's continuously blowing air behind the cutter bar to keep those seeds up and anything that might shatter, keep it up on the belt, get it into the combine. We've had some testing done, worked with Precision Planning's PTI farm there in Illinois, and last summer they came up that said the air system would pick up about 2.4 bushel per acre versus when it was on versus when it was off. So we think that's certainly in these low commodity prices times, that's something could certainly make you money and pay pretty quick.
Well, it was great to catch up with Craig Lee, Director of Sales for North America with Geringhoff, and you can learn more at geringhoff.com.
Agriculture meteorologist Greg Solier returns now with his extended farm weather forecast for the country.
Our weather segment is brought to you by SprayTech, making your spray applications effective and convenient. Use it once, trust it always. Greg Solier is back after joining us earlier in the program with a look at what's to come. Greg, it sounds like it's going to be pretty dry next week. Is anybody going to see some moisture?
It'll be across parts of the deep south, the southwestern states, Pacific Northwest, and a pretty good area of dry weather for outdoor work, early harvest, generally speaking, across the Corn Belt late in the week. If we get these tropical systems to get going and move a boundary northward, 1/4 to 1/2 inch. If this doesn't materialize, high and dry weather for outdoor work and harvest there. Much needed moisture late in the week, 1/4 to 1/2, maybe up to 1 inch across the northeast of New England. The downpours along the Gulf Coast. Look at the moisture plume across the southwest and building northward, Mike, into the Pacific Northwest. Watch the flash flooding at 1 to 2, maybe some spots 3 to 4 inches of rain.
Oof. All right, Greg, what do you see temperature-wise for the week of September 15th?
The cool air, this cool snap, and it's been just that, not a major long-term pattern shift. The last little tentacle into the northeast of New England. Warmth under the ridge over much of the middle part of the country. Moisture reduction, dry down, evaporative loss. crosses looking favorable. A little bit below average down through the Rio Grande Valley, normal across the southeastern states. Pretty good shot of some moisture moving northward across those winter wheat fields. Pacific Northwest, maybe some work delays harvest-wise over the western Corn Belt. Those winter wheat fields will take the rain here. Largely dry weather across the northeast New England into the mid-Atlantic region and eastern Corn Belt too.
Does it stay warmer than average for the week of September 22nd?
It does, as we have been talking about here. We think this tropical season in the Atlantic is going to be a bust. Look at the warmth here, so-called autumn, clicking in here on the 22nd of September, early in the afternoon. Wet weather for the eastern states, getting a little busier here. I think they'll stay out to sea. Wet weather across the high plains and Pacific Northwest too.
Take us through the first couple days of October. What's the crystal ball show?
Continues on here by and large of a warm weather pattern for outdoor work. A little cool air across the northeastern New England. No big deal there. The moisture pattern continues on in the Pacific Northwest, Texas, the Gulf Coast. High and dry weather. Plenty of opportunity for outdoor work and harvest for the Corn Belt.
Our Farm Progress Update is sponsored by Brandt Industries. Lead the field with Brandt's lineup of heavy-duty grain carts and make the most of your harvest season. Visit brandt.ca for more. Well, this week we are checking in with Mr. Matt Youngman, the National Events Director here with Farm Progress. Matt, thanks for talking with us.
Good to be with you, Mike.
Now, of course, in the past month, you've been in Decatur, Illinois for the Farm Progress Show. Now you're standing ground in Grand Island, Nebraska. Are you ready for Husker to kick off next week?
We are absolutely ready. The parking lots are getting laid out. The field demo fields are getting opened up. The exhibits are moving in. Most of the tents are in the air, and everything is ready to go.
That is exciting. And I know this year really is the first year to get complimentary registration to the show. Matt, talk through how a farmer can get that.
Yeah, we're offering complimentary registration to everybody that comes to the show. You just fill out a real brief form at huskerharvestdays.com, and you'll end up with a QR code. You can print that out or have it on your phone. Walk up and show your QR code, and you'll walk right into the show. It'll get you a badge and a lanyard, and you can come on in. And that badge and lanyard are good for all 3 days admission. So we'd welcome everybody to come out. I know it's a show that's on a lot of folks' bucket list, and this is going to be a great year to come and attend Husker Harvest Days.
It certainly is, of course, the world's largest irrigated farm show, but also, Matt, this year it's going to be very exciting to see that focus on beef, given the excitements in that market. Can you give us an example of what will be on display?
Yeah, I mean, here in the Western Corn Belt, we're right on that crossover between the irrigated row crop and then you go west of here and it turns into beef really fast. There's a lot of beef producers and a lot of crossover producers that attend the show. And, you know, we're doing everything we can to provide everything that those beef producers would want to see. So this year we've added manure spreaders to the field demonstration. So we're going to, in the afternoon, we'll roll combines and then tillage tools, and then right there at the end of the tillage demonstration, we've got a couple of commercial manure spreaders that will be actually applying product. So it's an exciting add to the show this year.
How are the crops looking out there in the demo areas?
Very good. You know, it's cooled off here recently, which has slowed things down a little bit. So the corn is a little bit wet, but it's yielding really well. And so it's going to put these combines to a good test. And so we're really excited to see the field demonstrations. They're right there on the edge of the exhibit field, and it works really, really smooth here at Husker Harvest Days.
Speaking of working smooth, it should be a little smoother getting to the showgrounds from Grand Island this year, shouldn't it?
Absolutely. There's been a big project to reroute Highway 30 on the west side of Grand Island, and a lot of that work is completed. They moved the traffic over to a portion of the new piece of Highway 30, and it's going to make the intersection much bigger and much more smooth getting folks in. And then the road, Husker Highway, that leads from Highway 30 out to the show has been completely repaved. So it's going to be a nice, smooth ride in. Good traffic route. The folks here in Nebraska do a fantastic job of managing the traffic, and so everything is set to go.
Fantastic, folks. Get online to huskerharvestdays.com. Get that complimentary registration, and we'll see you in Grand Island. Matt Youngman, thanks for joining us this week.
Thanks a lot, Mike.
Now on This Week in Agribusiness, it's Max's Tractor Shed, where we spotlight another great American farm tractor. We love it, love it, love it when there's a tractor restoration involving a young person working with their parents or grandparents or aunts and uncles. We have an example this weekend from Minnesota in Max's Tractor Shed, brought to you by Lundell Plastics. Perhaps you had the opportunity at the Farm Progress Show a few days ago to see the products, some of those offered by Lundell Plastics. If you didn't, farmers, go to the website lundellplastics.com to see those tough polyplastic products that can help you on your farm. lundellplastics.com. Well, at the Wabasha County Fair in Minnesota a few days ago, Charlie Duden came in with his 4-H project. It rolled in to the Wabasha County Fairgrounds because he restored a John Deere tractor 74 years older than he is. Have a look at this John Deere H made in 1941. And a member of the Happy Ramblers 4-H Club, Charlie Duden, worked on this tractor with his uncle and his father. And it was a tough restoration project. Took 2 years to restore. Brian Winnikins of WRDN Radio, Durand, Wisconsin, interviewed Charlie. He said, "What was the hardest thing about the restoration?" Charlie said, "Almost all of it. It was in pieces on pallets." When that project started 2 years ago, when Charlie Duden was 8 years old. Oh, by the way, he told our friend Brian there'll be more to come. He's going to restore more. Wants to be a mechanic someday, as a matter of fact. Looks like he's got a good head start there. And Wabasha County, Minnesota, with the 1941 John Deere H. Mark Stock every week helps people buy and sell. He helped us. He can help you too. Here's the weekly report from Big Iron Auctions.
Well, hello, Max. Husker Harvest Days is this upcoming week in Grand Island, Nebraska, and Big Iron will be in full force. Our livestock team will actually have auctions on Tuesday and Wednesday this week, selling some outstanding animals. It's a feeder calf sale on Tuesday and a bred female sale here on Wednesday. So stop by our booth and you can see how Big Iron can bring a massive audience to your cattle that you would like to sell. Now, we also will be having a special Husker Harvest Days equipment auction on Thursday of this week, September the 11th. There is a yard full of late model quality machinery from various sellers that will have on display. One of the sellers is the Marvin and Becky Weber retirement sale, featuring a John Deere 8430 mechanical front tractor, John Deere 9770 combine, John Deere 1720 Series 16-row 30 stacker fold planter. And on Wednesday, Big Iron is honored to once again conduct the South Dakota FFA Foundation donation auction. Please support the South Dakota FFA Foundation. And just before harvest, we have a very large auction for DMW Enterprises selling late model super hopper grain trailers. Looking forward to seeing everyone in Grand Island, Nebraska at Husker Harvest Days.
Our FFA Chapter Tribute is brought to you by Geringoff. Check out the new XFR 50 Draper with 3 times more flexibility than its closest competitor at Geringoff.com. Geringoff, proudly built in the American heartland. Well, this week we're getting to know Sophia Geppert. She's serving as a Missouri State FFA Vice President for this academic year. And Sophia, thanks for joining us.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here this morning.
Did you grow up on a farm or at least with an ag background?
Yes, sir. So I grew up on my family's dairy cattle operation where we raised replacement heifers. So we'll calve out the heifers and then raise the calves and then keep the cycle going. We also raise crossbred beef cow-calf pairs. And then I also dabbled a little bit into the swine industry, raising a couple pigs as well. So I'm kind of well-versed in about everything.
There's a lot of livestock down around Kingdom City, Missouri, to be sure. And what about your background made you want to be a part of FFA?
I grew up through different youth agriculture programs, whether it be a Holstein Breed Association or 4-H, and just around the agriculture community. And I really just learned that agriculture is my passion. I knew that I love to show, be around animals, but also learn from other people who have different agriculture backgrounds than I do, because agriculture is such a wide community. So joining FFA when I was a freshman in high school kind of felt like a no-brainer. I was like, I get to meet new people from across the state and I get to learn more about agriculture. This is the best situation that I can be in. So I joined it in August of my freshman year of high school, and I haven't looked back since.
Fantastic. Still serving now, leading at the state level. Tell us a little bit about your future plans. Sophia, do you hope to stay in agriculture?
I do. I plan to have my future career still in agriculture somewhere. Here at Mizzou, I am an agribusiness management major, so I'm looking into staying on some of the business side, whether it be in a marketing, communication, sales route, or working for a breed or different type of agriculture commodity association to stay communicating with consumers about the importance of agriculture and different happenings in agriculture.
Fantastic. Well, we wish you the best of luck. Sophia Geppert, thank you so much for joining us this week.
Thank you.
Our tech correspondent Chad Colby was a bit like a kid in a candy store last week at the Farm Progress Show. He was checking out all of the new innovations on display on the show grounds in Decatur. Now he joins us with an update from one of those companies, New Holland.
A great visit for me is to stop and see my friend Ryan Schaefer at New Holland at the Farm Progress Show. Ryan, lots to talk about again at the Farm Progress Show.
Yeah, it's been a great week for us, not just on the New Holland booth, Chad, but I think everyone in the industry is enjoying the unseasonably mild Illinois weather here. We're used to quite a bit different temperature range for this show. I told some of our media colleagues earlier this week, the last time I remember having weather like this at Farm Progress Show, you and I had a lot less gray hair, and the show was still held in September back then.
Yeah, that's right. Talk a little bit about what's going on at the booth. You got a lot of news from New Holland this week.
Yeah, it's really an exciting week for us. We've really focused, what we're showcasing to be core to the New Holland brand, and our brand strategy headed into the next couple of years, what our team has dubbed the New Holland Way, but essentially focusing on those areas of our business that made New Holland what it is in North America today over the last 135 years. And that's rooted in our legacy of being the first name in grassland farming, that premier leader that beef producers and cattlemen all over the U.S. and Canada turn to when it comes to their feed production needs, and our long legacy of harvesting leadership and innovation with the twin rotor combine.
I noticed you had a little older vintage combine here in the booth, Ryan. That's kind of neat, showcasing the old and the new.
Yeah, Chad, that's about as old a vintage as a twin rotor combine gets. Matter of fact, that's a 1975 TR70. And for those New Holland fans or fans of the industry that know what that signifies, 1975 was the year we launched the twin rotor technology in the New Holland combine. It's been the heart of every TR and CR combine since then, and frankly, technology that's almost become industry standard for the highest capacity, premium grain quality machines across other manufacturers as well.
Ryan, walking around the booth, I noticed something else pretty major, and that's the balers look a little different.
All of our hay equipment for model year 2026 will be available only in New Holland yellow and black. So yes, I grew up on red and yellow hay tools from the Sperry days, as did many people from beef backgrounds. What we're looking at here is the next evolution of New Holland hay equipment. It's focused on quality, focused on the integration of technology with our great high quality iron, and what that delivers in terms of productivity and premium feed quality for cattle producers, livestock producers all over the world.
For This Week in Agribusiness, I'm Chad Colby.
Thank you, Chad, for a look at what's to come from New Holland there. And folks, the technology at the show wasn't just in the equipment. We also found technology in clothes. We'll tell you more when we come back. Farming is tough. It's tough on equipment, it can be tough on our bodies, and it can be tough on our clothes. Well, at the Farm Progress Show, I had the chance to talk with Strauss CEO Henning Strauss about their workwear company.
We're a family business, like many people are in the farm business. So third generation, we were set up in '48, just outside of Frankfurt. My grandfather, Engelbert, at the time, Strauss means ostrich. So that's why we have this iconic little bird being our company logo. And it's still family owned and managed. My wife who's here with me today, and my brother. And the company's grown into a sizable operation. We have 1,700 members of staff, mostly apparel, footwear, and we're very closely connected to the farm community back in Europe, and we recently set up a business over here in the US.
Now, I've heard people describe Strauss workwear as tools you can wear. Henning, what does that mean?
Well, when you look at our typical pants, in our product really are the pants, they tend to have quite a few pockets. So pocket design is quite, important for us. We pay close attention to the different trades. Obviously, being in agriculture, you have certain things to store. Nowadays, everyone has multiple phones and, pens and there's so many tools and gadgets that we nowadays have to carry. So we pay, particular attention to pocket design, navigation. We call it navigation in the sense of how your pants move as you work. And so we've come up with this term, the tool you can wear. We engineer a pair of pants like, others in our country might engineer a car. That's how we look at it.
I like that. Now, of course, if we're wearing these clothes to work, they've got to be both durable, but they also have to be comfortable. We're wearing them 9-10 hours a day. How does Strauss manage that balancing act?
I mean, nowadays you have, like you work across climate zones. You have we've always had seasons, but, we're still covering different states or, Europe in our case from north to south. You want to make sure you have the right product for every season, for every day. So we have, we have layering systems, and we just make sure that the product is not only looking good, but makes you feel good whilst wearing it, comfortable. Especially guys like myself, when you get up in the morning and you look at your, choices for the day, you tend to pick the pair of pants that's the most comfortable. So we pay special attention to making the product comfortable using nice fabrics, which move as you go. So that's really what makes us special in a way. And we have some kids editions as well, which have really been extremely popular. So we're just looking forward to having those conversations here at the show.
Henning Strauss, thank you so much for taking the time to talk with us here at the Farm Progress Show.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Henning, for that update on Strauss, and thank you for joining us today. Be sure to catch us next time, right here for This Week in Agribusiness. This Week in Agribusiness is recorded in the Strauss Studios. For more than 70 years and 3 generations, Strauss has been manufacturing high-performance German-engineered workwear, work boots, and safety equipment. Prepare for the next growing season at Strauss.com.
This Week in Agribusiness is produced by 22 Creative Group and has been a presentation of Farm Progress Broadcast. We invite you to visit us online at agbizweek.com.